Good evening, everyone. Mayor Ted Betancourt, I'd like to call the regular school committee meeting to order. Today is March 11, 2025, and we are starting our meeting tonight at 7:04 p.m. at our regular location here at the Higgins Middle School Library. As always, our meetings are being broadcast live by PBD TV. Great to have them, as always, taking care of our meetings. Minutes from the meetings are being taken by our recording secretary, Laura Bowe. And anybody who would like to join us when we go to public participation remotely, please identify yourself, raise your hand, and we can bring you into the meeting at that time. So thank you for that. Let's start with our Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. If everybody could please stand first for the moment of silence, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance together. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. If there's no objection, I'd like to go a little bit out of order today and go to the superintendent's report. We have students here for the Student Advisory Council, and if there's no objection, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Vidala for the introduction. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We're very pleased today to have one of our Student Advisory Council members here, Maria Clara D'Souza, is here with our advisor, Ms. Corey Barkley, and they're here to present their monthly report, and they have some great updates for us. So let me just pull up the slideshow for you. Okay. Take it away, Maria.
Something? Try. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to help Maria out a little bit since a lot of our other council members had other commitments. So Kat, Adam, Yana, and Rylan couldn't make it today, so Maria's here for us today, representing the class of 2027. We're going to talk about highlights and going-ons, then items to follow up on, and looking at priorities.
So some of the highlights and going-ons is we're in the middle of quarter 3. Students are beginning to plan courses and schedule for the next school year. Parent-teacher conference were held last Thursday evening. The Stage 1 competition show, Clydes, did it well at the Drum Festival. They're preparing for the state semifinals March 15. The BVMHS and jazz bands are working with the Berkeley professors to prepare for the Evening of Jazz on April 2nd. The junior prom is this Thursday at the Burlington Marriott. On February 25, 5 PVMHS students participated in a listening circle at Essex Tech with the Essex Accounting Commission on the status of women. At this meeting, we learned that we are one of the only schools in the areas with a healthcare center and a student advisory committee. MCAS begins at the end of March. On February 11, PVMHS hosted a successful school showcase. On February 12, a group of PVMHS CTE students visited the Higgins for the Try It Day. On January 29, 30 PVMHS students met with the administration about the new cell phone policy for the 2025-2026 school year. There are many fundraisings going on for each class. PVMHS implement a new hall pass system called Smart Pass, which is going very well. The Student Advisory Council had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Rapon to discuss school lunches. Some improvements were made immediately, as well as plans for future improvements. Students are thankful to be included in the conversation. Winter sports just finished. Alexon Jackson is the new England champions for the Shapa. Spring sports begin on March 17. Those are baseball, softball, boys and girls outdoor track, girls and boys lacrosse, and boys and girls tennis.
All right, so we wanted to follow up on a few things and just get clarification on timing for things coming up in the future. The first one was talking about the e-payments for fundraising events. And so I didn't know if there was any clarification on timing for that.
I can speak to that. I've talked to the treasurer, Ross Teitelbaum, and he feels there's a way to do this. He cited another district in the state. We just haven't had a chance to meet yet. We had hoped to do that last week. I hope to reach out to him this week to learn more information so we can implement that.
Okay, thank you.
If I could add to that, thank you. I spoke with the treasurer the business manager at the Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical School, and asked her how they handle the very same question. And she said they're unable to do the online payments as well, and that it is a really difficult situation, and that she and other business managers across the state are trying to figure out how they'll be able to do this for student activities, for all kinds of extracurricular activities. And it is much bigger than I thought, and it is much more difficult. So she was going to get back to me if she had any more information as well, but I was really surprised to hear knowing at Essex North Shore, we get a monthly report of every single student activity account with the balance. And I just assumed it was right there in some computer system. It is for the accounting, but not for payments. Okay. So we will keep looking, and thank you, Mr. Rippon, for checking into it too.
The second thing, and I guess there has been a little bit of work done this week that we just found out about, but the bathrooms at the high school, apparently the broken locks have been fixed, and they changed what they were using to clean the bathrooms in hopes that that would help with the way that they smell, but we probably agree that that hasn't worked yet, and so we'd love to still push for some air fresheners in the bathrooms at the high school, and the mirrors as well. So.
Great, and I can just add that I spoke with the facilities director today, so the outdoor locks have all been replaced, so that should be good as far as security goes, and then all the petitions, they were there today replacing all the doors in the petition so that there are operating locks on those. So that was the first priority. I know they've been using a chemical called BioAlive, which is starting to address some of the smell issues that you've seen. It is a little bit of a process. I will double check on the air fresheners and see if we can get something to do with that, and I know the mirrors are next on the list. So the locks were definitely the priority, and so I'm pleased to report that that is done, and we'll get those mirrors addressed very soon.
Thank you.
I have another question. Sorry. Is the smell really stronger in any particular area? Do you notice it more first, second, or third floor, or is it just all of the bathrooms?
What do you think?
I think it's I feel like most after lunches, because I don't think they have enough time to clean after lunches, because we have 3 lunches after school, in the school. So I feel like after we have lunch 5th period, that middle, so during 6th period-ish, I feel like that's the worst. But I feel like it's also just in general, they just smell bad.
The bathrooms are really small.
Oh, yeah.
So say you have 50 students using a small bathroom every hour. It's just tough.
I'll be honest, I was wondering if we can also make sure it's nothing to do with the sewer line. That's always been an issue in the high school building. It's something we actually plan to address in the new construction. And I think it's something we ought to bring to Mr. Politano's attention, because it's a historical problem. He may not be aware of it, and it could be contributing to that, especially if it's after the lunches, and it's not just the number of people using the bathrooms, but the actual operation of all of those throughout the day. So I would just like to make sure we check into that as well. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for our guests? Any questions about PBD? Mrs. Dunn?
Oh,
Yes.
there's just one more thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's some more items, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
yeah.
I want to hear about this.
Yeah, so we had a meeting last week, and a couple of female students brought up the fact that the curtains in the girls' locker room don't stay shut. And so if they're showering after practice, they have to hold the shower curtain closed while they're showering. So they were hoping for new curtains and maybe hooks that could hold them closed so that they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And Miss Randall said that that's kind of a cheap fix, so should be.
Yeah, that's something we should be able to jump on.
And last is about safety, mainly traffic safety. We know that Ms. Randall talked to facilities about adding speed bumps, and so we're hopeful kind of as soon as the snow is over, that maybe those could be added, and talked about adding signs and just to talk about like where the best place for parking and pickup would be for parents. And lastly, I know that the students would really love to have cameras in the student parking lot, as well as other potential areas on campus. And that's it.
Thank you, we can work on that, that's great,
Okay.
very helpful. Any questions? All right. Oh, sorry, Mr. Swanson.
Thank you. Through you to our guests. I guess the cameras, is there a lot of damage going on in property in the parking lot areas? Is that a reason why, or is it just a safety
I think
in
it's
general?
more, I don't know for sure. I think it's more a safety concern.
Okay.
I've had a couple students say that like some students are driving recklessly in the parking lot
Yep.
sometimes, not necessarily that there's accidents happening, but just like the fear that something might happen.
Yep, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the other one I had, I apologize, let me just jump back for a second, was, sorry, I lost my place for a second. Sorry. Were either of you involved in the open house that was held this year? I know that superintendent and Ms. Randall were trying to really push and revamp that. How did you feel it went, and how? And sounds like
The open house
the open house
at the high school?
At the high school.
I thought it went really well.
Excellent.
Yeah, I thought a lot of parents came.
Great.
Yeah.
Obviously, I ask because you'll hear us say that we know that you have a building there, that is a building, but you and the staff are the heart of that school, and I want to make sure that others hear that, feel that as they approach that school, get past the brick, get past what's there, and see the depth of what is offered at that school, and make sure that we are able to retain as many as possible. So thank you for that input.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Swanson. Mrs. Dunn?
Regarding the camera in the student parking lot, I know we did have cameras for the student parking lot. Can we look into what the status of those are? The students may not be aware that there were cameras, and I know they worked because I got caught taking one of my children's cars out of the lot, putting my car in their space, driving down the street and getting gas, because I knew they didn't have enough gas to get home from school. Coming back, returning the car to put it in the space, and I was met by Mr. Hagstrom, because everyone in the office watching the cameras was wondering who the student was that was skipping and then decided to come back. And it was me. So I know that the cameras worked at that time, but I would like us to at least check and make sure that we can update that service if it's not working, but people may not be aware that it is in place. I know. They posted my picture in the office.
Peabody's Most Wanted. Peabody's Most Wanted, Beverly Dunn.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Let's check on that. We really did added a great deal to our city buildings and city properties, some more cameras. So that's been a focus. So yeah, we'll check on that. It's probably been a little while since they've been out, if they were at one time. So yeah, that's a good one. We'll check on that right away. Yep.
Get rid of the tape with me on.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Terrific. It was a good update. Can we go to minutes? We do have minutes from the February 25th, 2025 regular school committee meeting. I'd open those up for discussion and a motion.
Motion to receive and approve.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn for approval of the February 25th, 2025 regular school committee meeting, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Olympio.
Yes.
Mr. Swanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, we have 3 warrants for approval of bills. Mr. Olympio?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5972 in the amount of $2,176.36, dated March 11, 2025, subject to audit.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio for approval of warrant number 5972, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Olympio.
Yes.
Mr. Swanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5975 in the amount of $3,056,059.76, dated March 11, 2025, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio for approval of warrant number 5975, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Olympio.
Yes.
Mr. Swanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5977 in the amount of $37,257.58, dated March 11, 2025, subject to audit.
Second.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Olympio. You've heard the motion for approval of warrant number 5977, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Olympio.
Yes.
Mr. Swanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Mr. Olympio. Next, we'll go to continued business. First item, PVMHS MSBA project update. Mrs. Dunn, and perhaps you could maybe do item number 2 on the superintendent's report for the vote for the project funding agreement, authorizing funds.
The first item that I'll bring up is that on Thursday, March 20th, next week, we will have another meeting of the school building committee. And what we're going to speak about that afternoon, it's at 3 o'clock, is the feasibility study funding process, which we are going to begin tonight, the project website, school project visits, which will have school building committee members going out to look at school projects that are underway or have been completed, so we can look at some of the different features of the different schools. And we will be scheduling those, so people won't just be going off on their own. It's going to be a very organized process. We will be doing preparations for the OPM selection process, which is coming up with the language that we want to use for the RFP to put that out, to look for an owner's project manager. We have to wait for authorization from MSBA after they approve a feasibility study for the building, but we will talk briefly about that at the meeting next week, just to get the ball rolling so members are understanding of what that process entails. Then we will also talk about forming working groups, which will be the groups of people who will address the various aspects of the new building, the departments that we will have in this school, the CTE department, the science department, music, just to get people started with that conversation and being able to put people together to find out what they're looking for and what we can do that is possible. And then outreach. This is going to be an important piece of the committee always going on to make sure that we're keeping you informed, that we're keeping the public informed, and especially our employees and everyone who's involved with the project. So we're going to make sure that we have some really good, strong, very good, strong outreach and transparency on the whole process. So it's a public meeting. Everyone is invited to attend. It's Thursday, March 20th, 3 p.m. at the PVMHS Melting Pot. So, hope you can come. Then the next item, and Dr. Vidala, I'll let you lead into that, about this discussion.
Absolutely. So as part of the next process, we have to ask the City Council to appropriate money for the feasibility study. So as part of our project funding, the next stage is a feasibility study, and that's a very exciting phase for us. That is where we'll really look at the site and what the site will look like in terms of where the building might go, what the roadways might look like, where the fields might be. And so that is a really in-depth process, and they'll take a look at all the different aspects of our campus and where it is feasible to actually build and what our options are, and they'll provide that. So we'll be looking to hire a firm, an owner's project manager and an architect to be able to help us with that process. And so the first step for us is to ask the City Council to appropriate the money. And so we've worked with MSBA and our bond council to make sure that the money, the vote language fits their needs. And Mrs. Dunn has the language, and so she'll be able to read it into the record tonight. And then the next process will be that the City Council will receive that, they'll review it, and they'll be able to have their vote sometime in March, or in the first meeting in April. So our due date for this is April 28th. We wanted to start now, so we have plenty of time to go over everything and make sure the council has enough time to receive it, review it, and then if they have any questions, we want to make sure that we had plenty of time so that we would meet that April 28th deadline. Mrs. Dunn?
Okay, I'm just adding something into some language here. Hang on 1 second. Okay, I just want to make sure. Request.
And while you're doing that, Ms. Dunn, just to add to Dr. Vidala's comments, right now, the plan with the City Council is that they would receive this item at their March 27th meeting, and then would be marked up for a hearing on their April 10th meeting. And that should give us plenty of time. Dr. Vidala and I did not want to wait until the April 24th meeting. That might have been a little bit of a time crunch. So April 10th, we're anticipating we'll make a full presentation to the council and seek their support.
Okay. So as you know, these are lengthy motions, and I'll read the whole thing. And in layman's terms, what we are going to do, and we do it all the time, is as a school committee, we're going to ask the mayor to request the City Council to fund what we're calling a feasibility study, but actually what MSBA calls a project funding agreement. And in truth, that's what it is. We will, if City Council appropriates the money, and we're looking for $8 million to conduct that study, we would enter into an agreement with the MSBA whereby they would work with us to conduct that study, and then to proceed with basically the design of the building, all of the details that go into the building, because it's not just the bricks and mortar. They have to look at our education plan, our enrollment. There's a lot that goes into it. But this will also allow us to know, if you can remember, like on Higgins and at the Welch, they do a study on the costs as far as if we were to renovate, build new, or repair. They give you a breakdown, and then the city makes the ultimate decision. And that's something else people need to know. This project is funded by the MSBA, but it is directed by the city of Peabody. So we explain to MSBA what we need that money for, how we're going to use it, and how it's going to benefit the city and the schools. So anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Swanson.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. So this appropriation, how far into the project? This doesn't secure the owner's project managers for the entirety of the project. It's just for the feasibility, architectural review, and kind of a site review.
Yeah.
And then
It's an in-depth study. It really is. Yeah. And it lets us really start that process because we're authorizing the expenditure of that amount of money in the hopes of getting that completed. And then again, we will move from Module 1 into Module 2 with the MSBA process. So it would be a nice, a really nice benchmark to be able to have this. We wouldn't know until we turn this in to MSBA in April, and then they vote on it at their board meeting. So this is important to get it in by their deadline for us, which is April 28th. But once they receive it, they can put it on their calendar and then look at that and make sure that everything is correct. So this is a big step.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that detail on the clarification. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I would like to make a motion to request funding for the appropriation of $8 million for the cost of a project funding agreement for the replacement and renovation of or addition to an obsolete building, Peabody Veterans Memorial High School. Resolved that the school committee requests the mayor to request the City Council of the City of Peabody to appropriate the amount of $8 million for the purpose of paying costs of a project funding agreement to determine the need and cost for potential replacement and renovation of or addition to an obsolete building, Peabody Veterans Memorial High School, located at 485 Lowell Street, Peabody, Massachusetts. Laura, I'll give you this. You don't have to type it. Located at Peabody, lost my place. Located at 485 Lowell Street, Peabody, Massachusetts, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, and for which the City of Peabody may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, said amount to be expended under the direction of the City of Peabody, Peabody Veterans Memorial High School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the school committee requests that the City Council authorize the City Treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The City of Peabody acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need, as determined by the MSBA, and any costs the City of Peabody incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the City of Peabody, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the City of Peabody and the MSBA. And I move that this vote be adopted as read. So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. You've heard the motion, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Olympio.
Yes.
Mr. Swanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Amico.
Yes.
And one other point so people can understand, this would be a reimbursable expense. So this is considered part of the MSBA grant overall for the cost of the building. If we had done this on our own, some communities do that, it's not covered. We have to do this through the, under the umbrella of the MSBA. So that's another reason why we have to use their language, and we're going to send this to the City Council for the process for them to authorize the expenditure. So thank you. This passes, and I would just ask that we will send this over, Mr. Mayor, with your assistance to get that on the calendar for the City Council, and we'll follow it through over there. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dunn, for that
Thank you.
report. Okay. Next item, under new business, I'd like to go to the school bus cameras. I wanted to invite Maria Sherry to come forward. I'm going to speak for a few minutes, but I wanted to ask Maria to say a few words, as well as John Swanson to say a few words as well. Welcome, Maria. I wanted to bring this forward today. I think all of you are very familiar with the action we took a couple years ago. We took the lead as a city in order to do the school bus cameras. We created a relationship with Bus Patrol to put cameras at 10 of our city buses. And I want to thank Healy Bus for working with us on this. We kind of identified 10 routes that we were concerned about, and just to get a sense of the dangers that our students and families were experiencing on their way to school and on their way home from school. We had some real close calls, some near misses, a lot of concern in terms of things, but we really wanted to create some data behind it. There were about half the states in the country that allowed school bus cameras to gather data and allow the police department to then ticket based on those videos. Massachusetts was not one of those. Maria spearheaded an effort to have the legislature vote and try to create a law that would allow the implementation and the enforcement of video camera evidence to ticket. We took the data that we collected in the 23-24 school year, took that data, brought that forward to the state, and we were successful after some advocacy from Maria, Mr. Swanson, our task force that we created at the beginning of this effort, and a number of other cities and towns. We were able to get this approved by the state legislature and signed by the governor in January. To continue our efforts to be the lead community on this, we have been the lead every single step of the way. I wanted to bring forward a resolution to the City Council, which is required under the state law, to ask the City Council for implementation and enforcement to allow police officers to use that, again, video evidence. And the school committee would have to vote to allow our school buses to have that ability to put the cameras on the school buses. So the Chapter 90, Section 14C, it's an act concerning the safety of school children embarking and disembarking school buses. And again, the bill allows cities and towns to use stop-arm cameras on school buses to identify and find vehicles that illegally pass school buses. We are in front of the City Council on March 27th for hopefully their approval and support of this. We've had a great partnership with our school administration, the school committee, which all of you unanimously voted for this and supported this, our police department, our emergency management teams, the principals at the different schools. This has really been a team effort, but really it was started by Maria Sherry, concern she brought forward. She recognized that this was a major concern, a major safety issue, and I wanted to ask her. I talked a lot, Maria, probably some of the things you were going to say, but this is one I'm I feel very good about, because again, we were the leaders on this. Peabody took the lead, and it wasn't for you, Mr. Swanson, a number of other caring people, we wouldn't have this ability. So I'm very happy to have you here, and certainly want to give you the opportunity, as well as Mr. Swanson. Did you want to speak first, Mr. Swanson?
If you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. This was a phenomenal effort. Again, as the mayor said, it was a team effort from our community. The school community, our public safety community, Ms. Maria Cherie, that taking the lead on this and driving us forward. As the mayor said, and if PBD is now a leader in this movement. The data that we collected was very instrumental in getting this through our legislation. This is the first year it really didn't run into any resistance. The numbers were there. The data was there, and nobody could back away from this one. So it was a phenomenal effort. This law now allows public safety, the police, to utilize the video evidence to stop and write citations for those that violate stop arms on the buses. A couple of words that I've heard over the last 2.5 years is distracted driving, cell phones. But if you watch the videos, if you stand on the curbs, it's beyond that. Talking to our traffic department, it's the ability to actually have them enforced because of our limited resources, because they can't have an officer follow the buses all the time, every bus, every day. This allows them to stop those that, frankly, don't care about the law and are breaking the law and putting our drivers, bus drivers, and our children in danger. So, Maria, thank you very much for driving us forward. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for the support and being a leader in the state. If you watch the news, so-and-so city has followed Peabody's lead. Such and such town is brought forward because of the trials that Peabody has done. So this is a a thing that is phenomenal. Started out very small, but it has really picked up and become a snowball for our state, and not just the safety of the students in Peabody, but the safety of students across the state. So very phenomenal job, and thank you again for driving us forward and all that you've done. If you don't know, Maria has presented to the State House. She's been to several different cities and towns. I'm now getting phone calls from other cities and towns asking us what we've done. This is important to the state as well, not just Peabody. And again, it's bigger than we could have imagined, but it's a phenomenal job, so thank you. And thank you all for the support in this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Well said. Thank you. Maria, welcome. Great to have you here.
Well, thank you, everybody. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to be here is to really offer my sincerest, heartfelt gratitude. When I came here was about 2.5 years ago. I didn't really know what to do. I knew that there was a problem, and I knew it was bad. And so I came, talked with the mayor and John, and just spoke from my heart that something needed to be done. And you all listened to me, and you all gave us the support to create the task force and also to adopt the pilot program with Bus Patrol, which, as the mayor and John said, was really, really instrumental in raising a tremendous amount of awareness for a problem that I think most people didn't really know was happening. You may have seen that somebody pass the bus once or twice and thought, oh God, that guy's a jerk. But I don't think anybody really understood the impact that this reckless driving behavior was happening throughout our city and across the state. And the violation, not only the data, but I think when people saw the video footage, I mean, like, you just can't deny that. It wasn't like, they didn't really pass the stop sign, or you could literally see the kids waiting, to cross the street. And I think a lot of people that I spoke with, in addition to our policymakers, who this year finally stepped up to pass the bill, we got the attention of organizations like AAA, Boston Children's Hospital. I spoke with pedestrian safety advocates where school bus pedestrians just really weren't on their radar, so it's Mass for Transportation, Walk Boston, those types of advocacy groups that saw the footage and saw our data and, decided to put it on their own agenda, which they hadn't done before. So there was just like this really larger push behind the scenes type of stuff that was happening, but it really was all thanks to you and everybody in Peabody who supported this. And so I just really want to say thank you very much.
Well, thank you again, Maria. It's great to have you here. And just to touch on a couple of things you mentioned, Maria mentioned that this isn't brand new to the State House. This bill in one form or another had been languishing in committees for 10 years. What we did as a city, again, taking the lead, is then we were able to provide data and video, and it was disturbing. A number of near misses, kids jumping back, quickly walking across because a car was just coming. The amount of incidents in one school year was over 3,000 just on 10 buses. So the goal of this certainly is to cure behavior and make people aware of their poor driving and things like that. It is going to require some work for our police department. They are ready for it. They are in full support of this. And again, we're going to be going to the City Council for a vote on March 27th to enable the implementation and enforcement of this program. There will be certainly fines. We anticipate that those fines collected, and again, that's secondary. The first is to cure behavior, bad driving, but there will be fines that come from this certainly, and we intend that any money collected would go to crossing guards, signage, school safety programs, things of that nature. There will be some administrative costs that will be a part of this, but I think that's going to continue the efforts of the task force, our school community, to continue these efforts of making it safer for everybody. So really excited about that. Once we get the hopeful approval from the City Council, the next step then would be to reach a contract with a provider for the school bus cameras, and then start the program, hopefully in the next school year, if that could be done. So, again, I know some other cities and towns are moving on this as well. I'm hoping that Peabody can be first to continue the work we've done, but really excited and proud of this effort. Really proud of this effort. We really, I think our efforts are going to make a difference, a real difference in school safety and for our children and families. I'll go back to you, Mr. Swanson. I'm going to go to Mrs. Dunn and Mr. Amico.
Sorry, I did leave out a thank you. As part of the snowball effect, Ms. Dunn, appreciate you spearheading the resolution that brought the rest of the Massachusetts school committees together to help us with that as well. So I apologize, I left that off my thank you, but absolutely part of that snowball effect. Thank you.
That's okay. It was nice to have them pushing for us. And it is also known as the Peabody Resolution, which is pretty cool. My question was, do you need a resolution? I wrote one up while you were speaking, and I'll bring it up after Mr. Amico speaks, but if you have one, you have one?
With the assistance of Bus Patrol, we do have a lengthy resolution that has been already presented to the City Council for their vote. So yeah, we utilize what other states have done in the resolution. What I think I'd be hoping for today is a vote from the school committee to allow for cameras to be installed in school buses.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think that'd be I think that's what the enabling statute requires, as a school committee vote to utilize the cameras on buses, and the City Council votes to allow for enforcement.
Okay, all right. And go ahead, Mr.
Sure. Thank you. Through the chair to Ms. Sherry.
Mr. Amico?
Thank you. Through the chair. I just want to thank you. I remember you coming here about two and a half years ago, and it wasn't that I wasn't believing you. I just couldn't believe that people were that careless, that many people. And I remember having a conversation through the chair with Mr. Swanson about that. And he said, yeah, you've got to look at the video. It's crazy. And it really is. And just thank you so much for bringing this to us and for fighting. And I know there were a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, the mayor and Mr. Swanson and Ms. Dunn. I know our state delegation was all over this as well. But I just want to thank you so much for really putting kids first, right? I mean, and not only putting kids first, but their safety. So thank you so much. You're an awesome person for doing this. You really are, and your dedication won't go unnoticed. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. Through the chair, Ms. Sherry, thank you again. I appreciate all the time you spent on this, and I know that you were so passionate about it, and it's so needed. I think we all saw those videos and our hearts stopped, and we all have kids, and my kids have been on the bus, and it's just a terrible thing. And I just want to thank you for taking all the time that you did, because that was a lot of work, and that's a lot of people to talk to and a lot of effort that it took, and everyone else that was involved. I just appreciate it, so thank you again.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Mr. Olympio?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Sherry, thank you. I look at it's an example of just how one person can move the needle. I mean, maybe it's been in committee for a while, but I know you've had a lot of help. Mr. Swanson's done a great job, the mayor, everybody, but I just don't think it gets rolling unless you're pushing behind. And just to think that one person can really just accomplish what has been accomplished is just a great example of, local city and local government working together, the citizens, it's all about safety for the children, and it's just makes me really proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. That was great. Mr. Swanson?
Sorry. Through you to Mr. Olympio. Thank you for those words. It just sparked something from me. Maria is what we call a catalyst. I've been reading to Miss Rosatone's class down in the Carroll, 2 books, and there was always one subject in the book that was a catalyst that sparked that change, that started that drive, and everything changed around them. And that's what you've become for the community and the state. So thank you again very much. And those that don't know, this is such an effort that she's put forward that I believe you won an award for this?
Mm-hmm. I was just about to say,
if you want to just let that, just roll with that one.
Maria is going to love me for love you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
But Maria It's well-deserved. She was named the Peabody Resident of the Year by the Lynn Item Peabody Weekly. And a number of Essex County men and women received this award, and this was very well-deserved. So, yes, good. I wanted to embarrass her. That was perfect.
Mission accomplished. Thank you, everybody. It really means a lot. And, but it was a community effort, true and true. And I think, I was thinking as you're talking, I think there's one voice that they're not here today, and I think that they probably would agree with me that every single school bus driver in the state of Massachusetts is probably jumping for joy that something's finally going to happen, because I know that, they're in the thick of it and they see it day after day after day, and I've heard the words anxious, frustrated. They can't get school bus drivers, right? Because who wants to deal with that, So it goes way, just so beyond, the safety of our kids and into just, parents and bus drivers and everybody's just wanting to make sure the kids, get to and from school safely.
And thank you, Maria. Thank you.
So do you need a motion from
do we?
us?
Mrs. Dunn, I believe the motion that we would require from the school committee to move forward would be just authorization to allow Dr. Vidala and I to reach an agreement with the provider to install cameras on our school buses, and we need authorization from the school committee to allow that.
Okay, all right. So what I have is a motion by the school committee to request that the city council authorize the mayor and the superintendent to install cameras on the Peabody on the buses used for the Peabody Public Schools for the transportation of students, and the implementation of the cameras for the resulting videos to be able to cite and fine when warranted drivers who pass stopped school buses.
Can you read that first part again, Mrs. Dunn, please?
Okay. A motion by the school committee to request that the city council authorize the mayor and the superintendent to install cameras on the school buses used by the Peabody schools, by the Peabody School District for the transportation of students and passengers. And then the implementation of the program to utilize resulting videos to cite and fine whenever warranted drivers who pass stopped school buses. You want to leave the back part off of it?
Yeah, I think only the school committee can give authorization to put the cameras on buses. So I don't think it has to go to the city council in any way for them to approve what we're approving. I just think a motion authorizing Dr. Vidala and I to reach an agreement with the provider to install cameras and to have the support of the school committee to allow those cameras to be installed in our buses. So I don't think we need to, the city council doesn't have any say in that. That's purely school committee. So I think we can kind of leave out the first part about the city council. And I just think a motion just authorizing the use of school buses. Yeah,
A
I think
motion
we
to
can just keep
authorize
it.
the mayor and superintendent to install cameras on school buses used by the Peabody Public Schools. So
I
moved.
think-
Simple.
Yeah, that's it. And then
Yeah, because their city council's going to authorize the implementation of the
enforcement.
law
Right.
to fine people.
Stop arm. Does it need to say stop
Do I need
arm?
to say stop
We
arm?
have cameras in the buses now, but we don't have stop arm cameras.
I suggest we have that.
Yeah, so it has to be the stop arm cameras. Okay.
Yep.
I think that's the law, is the stop arm.
I think
Okay.
that's a good suggestion.
apologies to the chair. Like every time I turn the mic on, I can't believe this. Should it be something along the line of to install cameras in support of MGL Chapter 90, Section 14C? Very, very,
With the specific citation of,
Yeah, because that would be easier, because that's why
Now-
I was trying to put in the language of what we
Right,
were going to
right.
use the
Yeah.
cameras for.
you put your legal mind into it, I know. what
Well,
you-
yeah, I've got stop arm down the bottom here. You didn't let me finish the whole resolution. But definitely to be able to have those cameras installed and operational, and we want people to drive safely near our kids.
Yep.
Oh, for heaven's sake, it's on the agenda.
No, this is,
All right, Laura, I'll work with you on that language, yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right, so
Okay.
we have a motion. I think everybody's understanding of the
Poor
intent
Laura's
of
trying
the
to figure
motion.
out what the motion is.
Yep.
It's a motion to authorize the mayor and the superintendent to install stop-arm cameras on the school buses used by the Peabody Public School District in support of
Chapter 90,
MJL,
section...
Chapter 90, Section 14C. There we go.
That's
Okay.
it.
second.
Takes a village.
That's right. I think that's the language. All right, so you've heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn.
Maria, now you know why it took 11 years to get this thing, right?
You've heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Olympio.
Yes.
Mr. Swanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you all very much. We will go back
And
to the...
congratulations to Woman of the Year.
Yes. Okay, we will go back to the superintendent's report, to item number 3, the center school update. Dr. Vidala?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at our last meeting, we learned of some concerns at the center school around the annex roof and leaking. And so I just wanted to kind of clarify what was happening. We are doing some major repairs in the main building of the center school, and we had never had leaks in the annex. And the annex started leaking, and so there were some concerns brought up, and I wanted to provide an update on that specific issue. So the areas on the roof have been addressed. What we realized is that due to extreme weather, there are 4 skylights on the roof of the annex in that main hallway. And the ice dams that built up bent back the flashing, and then they froze. And they were there for a while. And once the weather started to warm up, the ice started to melt, we got some heavy rain, and water was able to penetrate through the flashing around each one of those skylights, and water came into the hallways and some of the classrooms. So we were able to bring a roofing company last Monday on May 3rd, and they installed new flashing around all 4 skylights. The health department conducted a thorough investigation, and they inspected all of the areas where there was water damage. Mayor Betancourt was there, and our facilities manager. The fire department was there to make sure there were no fire hazards. We had our health department there, and they did a thorough inspection, and a very nice report was put together by Sharon Cameron, our health director. That's included in your packet. It addresses all of the issues, and there's some follow-up areas that our facilities director and his team will be doing. There will be a thorough cleaning of all the areas, and they are currently replacing the ceiling tiles that were damaged, and the damaged rugs we are going to dispose of and purchase new rugs instead of trying to clean them. We thought that it would be better off just buying new rugs. So we were able to do that. I'm happy to report that the most recent rain that we've had, there was no water damage after that. The whole annex is clean. They inspected for mold, and they found no mold there. So they feel like that area of the building is in really good shape now. Over the summer as well, there will be an additional cleaning, painting, and areas of the classrooms will be addressed as part of the regular repairs that we're going to do. Just a couple more updates. We have a meeting with the center school staff this week to provide some additional updates, and then our community meeting for the center school is scheduled for next Wednesday, March 19th at 6 p.m. in the Higgins Auditorium. This is, again, a work in progress in this construction site. We get updates almost daily, and so I'm going to turn it back over to Mayor Betancourt with some additional updates.
Thank you for that, Dr. Vidala. Appreciate that update. I know the last couple of meetings we've had a lot of discussion about the center school, and when Dr. Vidala and I first heard about some concerns about meeting timelines and some scheduled work that was going to take place, and ordering different parts and things that were needed in order to complete this project. And again, we were worried about some time frames of delivery and things of that nature. I didn't want to sit with that by myself. I wanted to get that out and to be transparent, to let people know, this could be tight, this might be difficult. We may have to think about extending the closure for another year. A lot of work has taken place over the last week in particular. Dr. Vidala and I have had a number of meetings with Jim Politano, our facilities director, and his team. We've been able to get some additional information that we didn't have as of a couple of weeks ago regarding delivery of items that are necessary, in particular the electrical panel that is vital to the whole operation. And where before we were looking at significant lead times, we're getting much better news now in terms of information from manufacturers about when we can expect delivery of those items. So much so that I want to move full speed ahead with the opening of the center school this September with the new school year. I was very grateful, and I know this was the school committee doing in order to set up the public hearing, but we had talked about maybe giving some additional time before we had the public hearing in the hopes of getting additional information, which was great news to receive. As of this afternoon, we had another meeting just to confirm some timelines in terms of delivery of items and things of that nature. So I was very happy to bring this forward, and we wanted to bring it forward right away. I want to thank all of you for your advocacy and support on this. These are difficult issues, certainly, and we always want to do the right thing we can for our students and families. And the projects, as you know, whether you do a project in your home or your business or whatever, there's always little things that take place that make it a little bit more difficult and a little bit more challenging. So the fact that we did take a step back, I did want people to kind of get a sense of, again, some of our concerns here, again, in being fully transparent. But the school committee really stepped up, and I really wanted to thank all of you for your comments and support and advocacy for this. I wanted to recognize the city council. Our Ward 4 councilor, Julie Daigle, was very active and involved in this as well. And again, I think our facilities team is at a really good place right now, whereas in the past it hasn't been. And that was also, I kind of have a great deal of confidence and comfort in the work that's taking place there now. And with the new information in terms of the schedules, I fully believe that we're going to be in great shape to open up this September for our students. I know there's going to be a lot of work put on Dr. Vidala and his team in order to try to accomplish a number of different goals and work with our school communities. But I think this is a really good thing. And I didn't intend to really make everybody nervous, but I wanted to be very clear about things. And I always feel uncomfortable holding information and not sharing it. And I felt it was important to get that out. But now I feel it's important to get out the fact that we're in much better shape than we were 2 or 3 weeks ago. So again, I wanted to thank all of you for that. I suggest we bring Jim Politano in at a future meeting, maybe a few weeks out or a couple of months out, to give us an update maybe in April, May, as to where things stand, to make sure we're meeting our timelines. But we have a lot of work to do on the roof. We have a lot of work to do in the classrooms. We have work to do in the kitchen. And then the electrical was the big one. And I think all of those now, we're in a much better situation, in a much better position. So I wanted to report that. I was looking forward to giving that report. But it doesn't happen without all of us really staking our position, really advocating for our students and families. And I want to thank the work of Jim Politano and his team. You go into the center school now, you see some differences. And a lot of the work you don't see because it's systems and mechanicals. But there's also a lot of cosmetic work that now you can see. And Dr. Vidala mentioned those couple of meetings coming up, in particular with the teachers and staff, and who know that building well. I think they're going to see some real improvements, which I know will be very meaningful for our teachers and staff over at the school. And I want to thank the teachers president, union president Eric Blake, for his work on this. And then when we have the community meeting, we'll have plenty of pictures to show. It's going to be at the Higgins, but we'll have plenty of pictures to show to the community. So thank you, everybody, on that. And I really feel good about this direction. And For a little while there, I wasn't sleeping because I was really worried. I really wanted, as all of us did, we really wanted to open up in September. And there were a couple of sleepless nights for me worrying about if that was going to be a reality or not and what we should do in terms of planning. But I really feel good about where we're at now with the new information. So, sorry, a little long-winded there, but I think this is really, important, and it's a big issue for all of us. The center school opening alleviates congestion at a number of other schools in the city. That's going to help all of our schools in a certain degree. There will be some redistricting that's still going to be needed in terms of some neighborhoods that will be affected. So I'm certainly going to have Mr. Hockman's committee jump on some of those items. I don't think anything major, but some small decisions have to be made that I think will help the overall elementary school operation. So. Happy to answer any questions on that, but I do think it would be a good idea to have Jim Politano come maybe at a meeting, a month from now or 2 months from now to give some updates. If he can't come in person, certainly give some information in terms of the work that's taking place. All right. Mr. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am thrilled to hear the results of the last couple of weeks of discussions and work that's gone on with the center school, and I think the parents and the families will be happy to know that the building is going to open and children will return to the building. It really means a lot to them, and I know it means a lot to the school committee because we support neighborhood schools, and the center school is an important piece of the system that we want to provide to everyone. I will tell the committee, as well as you, I went over to the center school after you all probably received those phone calls too from parents about the leaking in the roof, especially in the annex, which I knew was something different. The annex hadn't leaked before. So not only did I see the situation at the annex, and it was explained to me absolutely perfectly of what had happened. It was really basically a one-time thing, and they were working on it. Mr. Politano is, I'm going to say this right now, he is outstanding. I trust him. He knows what he's doing. He's very dedicated to the district, and he really does a great job of follow-through. And he tends to things right away, and also is planning future repairs for everywhere, and he's got a huge job, and he is straightening out so many issues in the system, in the whole district, in the city. But I am glad we will have photographs the night of the community meeting, because I was extremely impressed with how the center school looked, and I know that work had been done recently. The classrooms look totally refreshed. You heard about how one wall, a focus wall, is painted blue, and the next classroom it's painted gold. Absolutely perfect colors. They took down the old cork boards and chalkboards and things, and they will put in new whiteboards, and really, it's amazing what a difference paint can make in a classroom or any place. But the new lighting and the new ceiling tiles and the new floor tiles really and truly make a huge difference in that building. And I'm not going to mislead anyone, as the mayor has said. People need to realize they're going back into a dated building, but it is being updated cosmetically for everyone, which will help with the lighting in the classrooms. The systems are being updated, and you won't necessarily see those, but the systems are going to work better. So that in itself is going to be an improvement. There are new outlets in the classrooms, and it is such a real change in that building. I think people will feel confident going back in and will enjoy going back to the school. And I'm really happy to see that the difficulties that existed a couple of weeks ago have been addressed, and it was supply chain issues, and it was getting the appropriate equipment. And I've spoken with Mr. Politano a couple of different times. I even spoke with him today. And he's very confident in being able to get the new, I wrote it down, the new panel and the main switch for the electrical in the building. And he's talking about some important things that are infrastructure that we may not see, but is really going to help be able to provide what the students need. If you've ever been in the center school, you need to see what they did in the library, how they refreshed that area. It's beautiful. And yeah, the gym is tired, but it's going to look a lot better after Mr. Politano gets done with it, because he's talked about the things he wants to do in the building. Just the whole project itself has taken a completely different direction. It's being taken care of. It's being carefully monitored every single day. He is doing something every single day to oversee that project and make sure it's done. And I'm really, really happy to know what's going on. And I'm very, very grateful to you, Mr. Mayor and Dr. Vidala, for making sure the kids can go back. I'll tell you, not knowing if the kids were going to be able to go back, one thing I wanted to point out to the school committee and to everyone else, we do have repair work on our own to do with the parents, because we lost their trust. And trust is very, very important. I hope we can get it back. I hope they see how hard people are working to be able to make this happen. People are moving mountains to get that done, and that's really a wonderful thing. Something I learned at the National School Board Conference last month, the parent engagement for our schools can improve the educational experience of students and achievement 40%. And they have the data from the National PTA. It was fascinating to see that. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because the center school just won an award last year for student achievement. They have a very invested parent group. Their PTO is very invested. The families work hard at that school. They stick together. They were most upset about not being able to come back to the school because they were trying to stay together. Now they will. And that in itself is really important. And I don't want anyone to ever lose sight of how important parent engagement actually is to the full process. And we have wonderful PTOs who do a great job of supporting our schools. And we've always said, you know, they help us to provide for students, but that family engagement is actually measured, and they have data to show how important it is. So I do think that this will be good. I hope that when they see pictures at the community meeting, they'll understand that it's going to be ready for them, and that they will have a nice place for their kids to go to school. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Biko?
Through the chair, Mayor, I just wanted to thank you. Emerson Park area is, we joked about this once, it's the playground of Peabody. And we've got the great baseball fields, James Street Park, the basketball courts that had epic basketball games in the past and now. Our little soccer, I don't even know what we call it, little soccer stadium, it's packed every night. We've got this beautiful building here. We're going to have a brand new police station, and something was missing this year, and it was the center school. And I know I talked to a lot of our neighbors, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know so much if they lost trust in us, than more they were emotionally upset that the building was not open. I talked to a lot of people. I walk my dog up and down Ellsworth and James Street and Augustus. I know a lot of the 5 and 6 and 7-year-old kids that are going to be so excited to go into this refinished center school, repainted, refinished. And I just want to thank the committee. I want to thank all the moving pieces, all the people, because like I said, it's an incredible neighborhood. I've only been there 20 years. It's been there for many, many years. It was the original Topsfield Fairgrounds, Emerson Park. I don't know if you guys know that. But the center school is that piece of the whole neighborhood. And it's the community, it's all the people who walk down to the park with their kids and either play basketball or they're on the swings and slides, and that's what the center school community is. It's part of that larger community, and it's just so nice that it's going to be back. And I just want to thank you for again putting our kids first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. All right. One more item.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we can all agree that as a committee, as a school district, we want great things for our kids. And so I saw a quote the other day, and it made me think of this. You know, we talk about the great colleges that our kids get into. We talk about the greatness we have on the athletic fields. We talk about the greatness that we have with our JROTC, with our performing arts. We have a lot of great things in Peabody. So I saw this quote, and it made me think of this next item here. It says, if you aspire to great things, begin with the little ones. So speaking of our little ones, our early childhood, we have some great programs, and this is where it all begins. And I know Miss Carpenter really appreciates the number of and the diversity that we have in the type of programs that we offer to our community. And this is where the greatness begins, is our early childhood. We are now accepting applications in 4 different programs. So we have our Little Tanners Preschool that's at the high school that meets its primarily for staff members or city employees, but we do have open applications. You can contact Alicia Corrigan. That is open on school days, 180 school days, and that provides childcare for 3- and 4-year-olds at our high school. Also, our great CTE program, our students work with those students. We have our integrated preschool at the center school, which is actively accepting applications for 3- and 4-year-olds, and that is Nancy Charist is our director over there, and you can contact her via email, or you can call the school. We also have Paso Zavante Preschool, and now we have 1 classroom at the Carroll School. We have 4 classrooms at the South School and 2 classrooms at the West. They're currently reviewing their wait list for open spots, and in the future, if we do have open classrooms as part of the reopening the center school, if we have some openings, we would love to expand the Pasos program to address some of the wait list. And of course, kindergarten for our students that are turning 5 years old, September 1st. We have registration that begins on March 24th. So once again, if you aspire to great things, begin with the little ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Mr. Miko?
Thank you. Through the chair to Dr. Vidal, thank you for that. And I agree. We have incredible preschool programs. Where should our center school families go to register their kindergarten students?
And so all of our families will register through central office. We will have some open hours, which we'll be sending out to everyone, but they can go right through central office. And similar to last year, we will be discussing if families want to stay at the center school, they want to participate in our open enrollment. We are happy to work with every family individually to meet their needs. And so if there are families that want to stay, we can work with them to stay, and there are families that want to return to the center school. And if there's any redistricting and someone was in the center school before and they want to return, we'll make that happen. So we will be working with, and I think that's part of the discussions that Mayor Betancourt and I will have with the teachers and with the families, and we'll talk about some logistics and things like that. But we want to make sure that we have those relationships. It's similar to how we worked with families as they left the center school and they had to be displaced for a year, and Dr. Higgins did a great job with that. We'll be working with them on their return to make sure that we're meeting everyone's individual needs.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Vidala, that slide that you just presented, could we have that put on the school website? I know there are links, but that actually really gives a preschool family a great look at what they have available to them, so they don't have to try to figure out which program on our page is preschool or anything like that. And it's nice and direct. So
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
We'll put that right up. Thank you. That's a great idea.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dr. Vidala, for your report. This time, public participation, is there anyone, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak? Opportunity is here. Seeing no one, do we have anybody remotely? Seeing none online. Seeing no one online, okay. Written communication, we do have a couple of more items under written communications. We have the Center School Inspection Report, which we have discussed. We also have the monthly student attendance report and the monthly Bay State Textiles report. I'd move to receive all of those items. Thank you. Further motion by Mrs. Dunn to receive those three communications, seconded by Mr. Swanson. All in favor, that's a vote. Thank you. Subcommittee reports. Education, Mr. Amico.
Thank you. Through the chair. I know this isn't the great place to put this, but could we, before I forget, can we put the April 8th school committee meeting on our next agenda, because we may have to cancel or reschedule it. We have several members who will be attending an event, and I want to give you, Dr. Vidala, some extra time to maybe super load our March 25th, is that it? March 25th meeting, in case we don't have a meeting on April 8th. There's an event that many of us will be attending, so we can take, I don't know if we can take it up now or we can discuss it at the next meeting, but I would ask that we more than likely reschedule that meeting.
I think that's a great suggestion, Mr. Amico. I know he'd be embarrassed, but what Mr. Amico is talking about is an event at the Northeast Arc, which is a tremendous organization that does incredible work. They're honoring Tom Gould for his contributions over the year, and I know Mr. Amico and I will both be there. Others may be attending as well, and yeah, that's a good suggestion. Maybe we could potentially move that date if that's agreeable to everybody. I think Mr. Olympia would be agreeable to pushing anything off till after April 15th. So maybe we could do something like that. So yeah, Dr. Vidala, we can work and come up with something. But thank you, Mr. Amico.
I didn't want to forget about that. So
no, that was a good suggestion, and Tom deserves that. Terrific. Finance Subcommittee, Mr. Lipio.
Just negotiations are ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you. School safety?
I think earlier took the cake.
Yes. We'll hold athletics and wellness, quality and standards. Mrs. Dunn?
I have not scheduled a meeting yet, but we have to meet because we have a lot of policies to go over and prepare. So that should take place. I'm trying to fit it in between negotiation sessions and just the commitments of other members. So.
Thank you. Parent and student advisory boards?
The Parent Advisory Board meeting will take place on March 27th, and it will be here at Higgins. The agenda hasn't been set yet, but we do have some items that need to be addressed, and I'll just try to clean those up from other agendas. And the Student Advisory Board, the National Student School Committee Association is still working on coming out to meet with our students and speak with them.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Building and grounds?
The mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. On that item, Mr. Swanson? Oh, sorry.
Jared's not here, but I had a question. It's the Jared's committee.
On building
Mr.
and grounds?
Hopkins, yes.
Sure.
Sorry, through you to Dr. Vidala. Beginning of this year, and we can bring this back to the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee, you had a contractor come in and help us with our grounds, supplementing what the city does, as well as our janitorial staff for beautification and opening day. It's now becoming warm weather. Do you have any plans, and can we discuss plans for bringing those contractors back in to help with us with freshening grounds and plantings?
Yes, I
this
believe
spring?
that Jim Politano and his crew are working with Parks and Rec Department to add the schools onto the city's contract. So that was discussed at an earlier meeting. So I do believe that all the schools will be addressed. It is something that, as they're renewing the contracts for the city, they're including the schools this time, and I think it's just a little bit more cohesive the way that they're approaching it. So I'll get an update from Mr. Politano and bring that back to the committee.
Awesome. Will that include, and you might not have this, but we asked that, we've discussed in the past plantings and shrubs and cleaning of the beds, a little bit making the curb appeal of the schools and keeping that up as well as part of those discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Special education, oh, sorry, on the item, Mr. Amico?
May I add to that? To Dr. Vidal and Mayor Betancourt, if we could also talk to Parks and Rec and maybe Jim as well, the James Street Park area, the parking area where was a sublot for many of the center school families. It was a terrible winter, snow, ice, and that field really got chewed up. It's going to need to be leveled and probably hydroseeded as it was last year. If we can just put that on the radar before the Little League season kicks in. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, special education, Mr. Olympio?
Yes, CPAC will have a Zoom meeting on Tuesday, March 18th, and it's about parents and organizing their schedules and looking at their strengths and weaknesses. So that's our March 18th, and that's a Zoom meeting on Tuesday. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. City Council Legislative Delegation, Mrs. Carpenter?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Performing Arts, Mr. Swanson?
Thank you. As you heard, Ms. Maria from our Student Advisory Council brought forward great news. Stage 1 for Drama Fest did well in their first round, going on to state semifinals this coming weekend. So they're advancing again. For those that don't know, they're doing a play called Clyde's. It's about a restaurant that is run and managed, staffed by those that are coming out of ex-cons and whatnot. So it's kind of a regrowth and reintroduction. So it's another great play they're putting on. And then another one, I'll have a little bit more information at our next school committee meeting. But as was noted, high school and junior high Higgins jazz bands are prepping for their evening of jazz on April 2nd. That is a great fundraiser for them as well. So a lot of families go to that, but if we can spread the word as well as part of the fundraising process for them. As with all of our performing arts, you'll see they start early in the middle school, and they start, and then they're really good, and they continue to grow through high school. So that, and then I'm going to put in some dates together to continue our conversations with the high school teachers and directors about the stringed instruments. Continue those conversations as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. And where's the location for that jazz concert?
You ask, and I'm drawing a blank. It's on one of our facilities. I'll find out.
Okay,
I have that, and I just drew a blank. Let's see what you asked. I'll have more information coming up for the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Our next meeting is March 25th, 2025, 7 p.m. right here in the Higgins Middle School Library. New business for that meeting, please reach out to Dr. Vidala and I. And for any items for that next agenda.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, before we break, Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you. Before we break, this is something that came up today when we met with the student representatives for Student Government Day. And I'd like to say I was very disappointed that the student body at the high school didn't fill out all the roles available for Student Government Day. So for the school committee, we have 4 students who stepped up. And I don't know about City Council, how many students have stepped up to serve on that. But as elected officials, I'd like to ask if there is something that we can do to help at the high school to stress to the students how important government actually is, and let them understand that their role as a good citizen is to participate in government, and for some of them that may be serving as an elected official, and in other ways serving, as a city employee. It started a couple of years ago where it seemed like the message wasn't getting out to the students, and I'm just asking if there's something we might be able to do, and if Dr. Vidala, if you and your staff could please find out, maybe, and I know this used to take place years ago, but there would be an assembly where the elected officials would go in and speak to the students about, the should I say, the joys of serving, but really to make them understand that it's a great part of citizenship, and they can have a good role by running and serving. I'm most familiar with our roles as school committee members with the student government program. I don't know about the other positions, but I'd like to say I think we can step up and help however needed. That's an important program. It's been in place for a long time, and grew a mayor, school committee members, many of the people. It's really amazing when you find out how many people who currently serve in various capacities in the city actually participated years ago as a student. So I would really like to see what we could do to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. All right, a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for a good meeting.